So, hello everyone. Welcome to the chat show. The purpose of this 15-minute chat is to share and learn from each other as things are changing around us in the area of employment. In this 15 minutes, I'll be focusing on discussion around the importance of empathy and innovation at the workplace as relate to more on the employment side. In today's show, I'm truly honored to have our guest, Dr. Dale Caldwell. Dale has been a great inspiration and a really driving force behind all the work we have been doing at Rangam in the area of disability inclusion and special needs education. He's well accomplished professor, executive director of the Rothman Institute of Innovation and Entrepreneurship at FDU. Dell is also a founder and CEO of management consulting firm Strategic Influence. He's an author, an executive coach, and also accomplished athlete with 3 marathons and national rankings in tennis. But more importantly, he's just amazing human being. So, Dale, with that note, thank you for joining and welcome to the chat show.
Well, Nish, I'm so honored to be here at the chat with Nish, and I think you are amazing. We've known each other for a long time, and have just admired. I just admire how you and Hethel and your team are doing. So it's an honor to be here, my friend.
So thank you, Dale. So Dale, we will right get into the agenda for today. The topic is empathy for equity. And before we get into the topic, please share a little bit about you and your thoughts. I know we've been talking about changing the world for last 15 years. So tell me a little bit about you and how you got here in your career.
Well, Nish, thank you again. We're all products of our influences, as you know. In my book, Intelligent Influence, I talk about the fact that we do what we do, think the way we think, and accomplish what we accomplish because of influences. And so my biggest influences are my dad, who knew and marched with Dr. King and Selma and the March on Washington and all of the big marches, and my mom, who was a school teacher for 50 years. They really taught me the value of people and the fact that you are only successful if you understand from whence people walk, where they, the moccasins that they wear. And so that has guided my whole life, and my belief that we can change the world, that if we can really help people become more empathetic, we'll have a very different world and we'll have more successful businesses and people.
Yeah. And tell us a little bit more about strategic influence, because that's what something has personally influenced me. And while talking, all this, I call this circle of innovation. And that circle of innovation is truly influenced by some of our conversations and idea exploration from that conversations. Tell us a little bit about, the strategic influence.
Well, I was strategic influence is really built around this intelligent influence framework. And what we do is we really help to introduce people to themselves, because we have a 4-step process where we help people understand their influences. And in order to really lead or manage or sell a product, you have to understand your own influences first before you can understand and empathize with other people's influences. The mistake that people make is they don't think about their own influences. They believe in this idea of the self-made person, and they just think that it's all about them. But what you've done is that you really understand your customer. You've developed programs around the customer, not what you thought, but what the customer needs. And that's very revolutionary and very innovative in today's world.
Yeah, so at Rangam, our tagline is empathy drives innovation, right? We take the empathetic approach to understand the needs, including societal needs and our partners. And you have been doing pretty much the same. And tell us a little bit about your project, Employment for Peace project, which we've been working for last few years.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. And so I have, someone's developing a logo now. So I have a foundation called the Dale Caldwell Foundation, and we're really focused on ending systemic poverty. And the way to do that is through jobs, to really do what you're doing at Rangam. And so our motto now is jobs for peace, because we believe that when people are employed, it brings peace of mind to the family. It brings peace to the community because when people are employed, there's less crime, and it brings peace to the world because if there's full employment, then there's no war. And so we often are so focused on stopping fighting instead of really empowering people through employment, through jobs, and empathizing with what it's like to be poor. And people don't often understand what it's like when you don't have what you need.
Great. So thank you, Dale. Dale, today's topic, again, empathy for equity. What is really mean empathy for equity means to you?
Well, and that's a great question because I think a lot of our audience is starting to hear more and more, especially with Black Lives Matters and others, that I'm getting calls all the time about diversity training, about inclusion training, and about equity training. And people say, well, what's the difference? And so I think it's important for your audience to know that diversity is really bringing people who are different together. Unfortunately, they found when you do that and you don't include them, then it's really not that effective. They have to have some feel included. And so that's where inclusion comes. You have a diverse team, you've got to include them. And then equity is fair inclusion, is really making sure that everybody is included in a fair way that's beneficial to the organization. So, but in order to understand that, you need empathy. You need to have that empathy to understand what equity is. And that so often I talk to folks who don't know themselves, who don't realize that they have opportunities that others don't have. And so they need to really look at equity in new ways.
Thank you for helping us understand the meaning of empathy for equity. So tell us a little bit about what's happening in your world of innovation, and how does the future look like? I know you have ample of stories and some great initiatives and projects going on. So please share some of those with us.
Well, and again, I love innovation. I love new ideas, and one of the groups that I'm so excited and you are part of our planning group is this new company called Blue Innovation. And as we talk about Black Lives Matters and we talk about the murder of George Floyd and we talk about the unrest and equity and really the issues with the police department, I've partnered with a guy named Jonathan Parham, who was the chief of police in Linden, one of the few Black chiefs of police in New Jersey, who had developed a process to evaluate body cameras. And so what he says is that, it's really not about defunding police, but it's really helping police become even more professional. Police should be professionals. They are professionals. And by really helping them evaluate the process, they become that much better at what they do. They like what they do. They connect with the community in a better way. So this is using technology, AR, AI technology, as well as operational evaluations to use innovation and empathy to improve a police department so we don't have some of the problems that we are dealing with on a national scale now.
Well, thank you. One of the things which I have learned from you is as an executive director at the Rothman Institute of Innovation and Entrepreneurship at FDU, you are just changing this whole dynamics and working really with some of the small businesses and entrepreneurship. So please share some of your work at FDU.
Well, one of the things, so we've been known as really in two areas. One as the Family Business Institute, where we're working with family businesses. People don't realize that around the world, like Rangam, family businesses account for about 80% of the global economy. So they are a critical component of the economy, but we also have a program called Veterans Launching Ventures, a national program where we're working with veterans or their immediate family members to help them develop business plans and grow their business. So by doing those things, one, we've developed a 8-week training program for veterans. We have a Friday call, a national call, where we provide advice to family and small businesses. And I have, and you've been honored to have you as a guest on my TV show, Family Business World, on our website, familybusinessworld.com, to really kind of let people know and help small businesses in this very, very challenging time. And so we're trying to help them through the pandemic so that they can stay alive and thrive after we're hopefully back to normal.
So you just touched a very important point during this difficult time. How do you see this empathetic approach, and we as a whole, as a society, and mainly focus on the workplace, how empathy is important and maybe more important? Any thoughts on that?
Well, it's important for every employer as we get back to normal, to do something that I'm calling reboarding. To have the empathy to understand, you can't say, okay, well, we're open for business, just come on back to the office and pretend nothing ever happened. That doesn't work. You have to be empathetic to understand that people have gotten used to a new way of working. You have to empathize with some of the stresses that they have. They may have lost family members, or family members may have been sick. Their kids may still be at home and they have to deal with that. So the smart employers use empathy for equity to really understand where their employees are coming from. Gone are the days of command and control where you say jump and they say how high. Now you really need to understand how to influence people in a very, very different way using empathy.
Great. And the last question, if you can just share maybe one or two stories. We have about 4 minutes in our show. Please share some stories on empathy and some of your work, and which has really touched your heart, because as you and me, we are more emotional leaders, and we talk about empathy, and when something touched our heart, we go out all the way and execute and make the difference, or try our best. So please share some of your stories with us. That would be great.
Well, the one story that I wrote up, and it's in Chicken Soup for the African American Soul, the Chicken Soup series. Mm-hmm. And it was a while ago, but this is when it all started for me, and it hit home. And I was in South Africa actually during apartheid, the only African American on the trip. And people may know that South Africa excluded people based on their race. And I had come from Zimbabwe and I stayed in the home of the former South African ambassador to Bolivia. And when I got there, I had my jeans on. I was playing with his 7-year-old daughter. And we had a great time just playing games and so on. And she got to know me. And then the next morning I had my suit on because I was going to the stock market. I was a certified financial planner at the time. And she turned to her parents, who were white, who hadn't really interacted with a black person sitting at their table. And she said, Daddy and Mom, Black Americans are no different than white South Africans. And that moment, 20+ years ago, actually more than that, really changed my view, because I realized that so often we don't understand that people are products of their influences. And so their inability to empathize is often because of their lack of influences. And so that story really let me know that no one's born a racist. No one's born evil. They're influenced to that. And so if they're influenced, that means we can work with anybody. We can bring people together. There's nobody beyond redemption, nobody beyond positive influence. And I know you believe that in the staffing business. You've helped to transform some people that others might have given up on. Mm-hmm. And so that story, and that reminds me every day that I don't judge, and I've learned not to judge, because I really am more interested in finding, well, what's influenced you to do things that I think are kind of weird or strange, and I want you to understand why you're doing that. And then it's amazing how I actually even like conflict now, because I'm able to realize that, well, Sally, what influenced Joe to do something that bothered you? And Joe, what influenced Sally to do that? And then you start to get people. So that story really is near and dear to my heart, and even puts tears in my eyes thinking about, this innocence of babes. From the mouth of babes is the name of the story, actually.
Yeah. There is some disturbance. Story I don't know if there is some technical. I see a lot of noise.
Yeah, I can't hear.
I think that's better now. Remember, we started our conversation about 13 years ago, and we said, Nish, the graduation I'm coming from, where parents are sitting in the parking lot, they are concerned what is going to happen next week, Monday morning. That's my story, and that's how I started learning from you some of the challenges faced by parents who has worked on autism spectrum, and that's started journey. And so I thank you for your time I'm sorry that there is some technical glitch and voice is not very clear. But thank you, everyone. Looking forward for next session next week, Tuesday, Wednesday. Same time, same place. Thank you, everyone. Be safe, stay safe, and stay healthy. Stay healthy. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
This was great, Nish. Thank you. Thank you. And Zule, thank you so much for signing.
Thank you.
Okay, take care.
Thank
Take
you.
care. Bye-bye.